The Jedi Council chamber was immersed in a dense atmosphere of concern as holograms flickered with battle reports. Master Yoda carefully observed the data showing the critical situation on Kashyyyk, where the Separatists advanced relentlessly against the Wookiees. Master Windu crossed his arms, his sculpted face demonstrating the absolute seriousness of the situation they faced at that decisive moment of the war. Ki-Adi-Mundi meticulously analyzed the tactical data, while Plo Koon remained in profound silence, patiently awaiting the Council's decision. The war had reached an absolutely crucial point, and each move could determine the fate of billions of lives in the galaxy. Obi-Wan Kenobi awaited his mission with characteristic serenity, already aware that Utapau would be his next challenging destination. Yoda closed his eyes for a prolonged instant, feeling the intense disturbances in the Force that had been persistently troubling him for several weeks. Something extremely dark hovered over Coruscant like a poisonous cloud, a gigantic shadow that grew each day and threatened to engulf absolutely everything. The venerable Jedi Master knew deeply that his presence was necessary and vital in the galactic capital, although he did not fully understand the specific reason. Master Windu approached with decided steps, abruptly breaking the heavy silence that dominated the council chamber at that tense and charged moment. "I will go to Kashyyyk to lead the forces," declared Windu with unwavering firmness, his grave voice echoing powerfully through the ancestral walls of the room. Yoda nodded slowly and thoughtfully, fully agreeing with the sensible decision of the veteran Jedi Master who would command the clone troops in the crucial battle. The Force whispered constant and unmistakable warnings that Yoda simply could not ignore in any way, keeping him firmly tied to the corrupt capital of the Republic. Obi-Wan bowed respectfully before the assembled council, demonstrating due reverence and mentally preparing to depart toward Utapau. "General Grievous will certainly be there waiting. I have absolute certainty of that," affirmed the experienced Jedi Master with solid confidence acquired in long years of incessant combat. Ki-Adi-Mundi agreed energetically, observing with perspicacity that the definitive capture of the droid leader would be an absolutely devastating blow to the disorganized Separatists. Plo Koon remained immersed in silent and profound meditation, his sharpened perceptions of the Force perfectly aligned with Yoda's concerns. The important meeting was about to formally end when the designations were confirmed by the Council. Windu would depart for Kashyyyk immediately, leading the 41st Elite Battalion in defense of the Wookiees against the Separatist invasion. Obi-Wan would proceed to Utapau with the 212th Attack Brigade, determined to end the threat represented by Grievous once and for all. Yoda would remain on Coruscant, something that caused certain surprise among the council members present. "Remain here, I must," explained the Jedi Master, his voice laden with concern that he could not completely hide. Windu frowned, perceiving the uncommon unease in the old master who rarely demonstrated such apprehension openly. "Do you sense something specific, Master Yoda?" questioned Windu, his intuition alerting him that there was more at stake than appeared. Yoda shook his head slowly, unable to articulate precisely what the Force was trying to communicate to him at that moment. "Clouded, the future is, but close, the danger I sense," responded the small master with sincerity about his uncertainty. The masters accepted the decision, trusting in Yoda's wisdom and sharpened perception developed over 800 years. The meeting was concluded and each Jedi departed to fulfill their designated missions, without knowing that the galaxy's destiny would be decided in the next hours. Master Windu embarked on his cruiser toward Kashyyyk, accompanied by the clone commander who would lead the ground troops. Obi-Wan departed for Utapau. Yoda remained at the temple, meditating deeply and trying to penetrate the dark veil that obscured his vision of the Force. Anakin Skywalker, after the meeting, found himself in Chancellor Palpatine's office. The young Jedi Knight had been summoned by the Republic's leader for a particular and urgent conversation. Palpatine, seated comfortably in his armchair, observed Anakin with an interest that went far beyond mere political cordiality. The Chancellor had waited for this moment for years, carefully cultivating his relationship with young Skywalker since his arrival on Coruscant. "Anakin, my young friend, there is something I need to share with you," began Palpatine with a soft and paternal voice. Anakin approached, his expression demonstrating the confidence he placed in the Chancellor after so many years of apparent friendship. "You know you could always count on me, Chancellor," responded the young Jedi, genuinely grateful for the support he had received. Palpatine smiled slightly, his eyes carefully studying each of Anakin's reactions before proceeding with his calculated revelations. "What I am going to tell you may shock you, but I believe you deserve to know the truth about many things," continued the Chancellor. Anakin felt a shiver run down his spine, a subtle warning from the Force that he ignored at that crucial moment. Palpatine rose slowly, walking to the panoramic window that offered a spectacular view of Coruscant illuminated by the sunset. The moment that would define the galaxy's destiny had finally arrived, and Anakin Skywalker was about to discover a truth that would change absolutely everything forever. Palpatine turned slowly toward Anakin, his face partially illuminated by the orange glow of Coruscant's setting sun. "Have you ever heard about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?" asked the Chancellor with a voice that carried something different, darker. Anakin frowned, confused by the sudden change of subject and by the uncommon tone that Palpatine used. "No, is it a Jedi story?" questioned the young knight, still without understanding where that conversation intended to go exactly. Palpatine shook his head, a sinister smile beginning to form on his lips as he prepared for the revelation. "It is not a story the Jedi would tell you, it is a Sith legend," responded the Chancellor, carefully observing Anakin's reaction. Young Skywalker felt his heart accelerate, a sensation of alarm growing rapidly in his chest before that unexpected declaration. Palpatine continued, revealing forbidden knowledge about the dark side and the power to manipulate the Force to create life. Anakin listened attentively, divided between fascination and growing horror before what he was hearing from the Republic's leader. Only one achieved such power, but he taught everything he knew to his apprentice, explained Palpatine mysteriously. Then the apprentice eliminated the master while he slept. A tragic but ironic story, don't you think? Completed the Chancellor. Anakin remained motionless, slowly processing the terrible implications of those carefully chosen words revealed at that specific moment. "Is it possible to learn this power?" asked Anakin, his voice betraying the desperation he felt when thinking of Padme. Palpatine turned completely, his eyes meeting Anakin's with a disturbing intensity that revealed something far beyond friendship. "Not from a Jedi," responded Palpatine gravely, allowing the words to echo in the luxurious room for long, tense seconds. Anakin felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet upon finally understanding what Palpatine was really saying. You are a Sith Lord?" managed to articulate the young Jedi, his hand moving instinctively toward his lightsaber. Palpatine did not deny, simply remained there observing Anakin with that disturbing smile that revealed his true dark nature. "I know the dark side of the Force, Anakin, and I can teach you to save the one you love from certain death," offered the Chancellor. Anakin retreated a step, his Jedi training fighting fiercely against the desperation that consumed him when thinking of losing Padme. Young Skywalker was divided, torn between two loyalties that seemed increasingly irreconcilable at that impossible moment. "I need to leave now," said Anakin abruptly, turning toward the door before he could do something unthinkable. Palpatine did not try to physically detain him, only observed as the young Jedi left the office in a state of profound shock. Anakin walked through the corridors of the senatorial building like an automaton, his mind spinning uncontrollably between the horror of the revelation and desperation. He could not simply ignore what he had discovered, but also could not forget the possibility of saving Padme. Young Skywalker headed directly to the Jedi Temple, knowing exactly what he needed to do even though it would tear his heart apart. When he arrived at the temple, Anakin immediately looked for Master Yoda, finding him meditating in the upper chambers of the main tower. The small master opened his eyes slowly, sensing the emotional turbulence that emanated from Anakin before he even pronounced a single word. "Master Yoda, I need to speak with you urgently," began Anakin, his voice trembling under the weight of the terrible revelation. Yoda gestured for him to approach, immediately perceiving that something extraordinary had happened to the distressed young knight. "Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord we have been seeking. He told me this directly a few minutes ago," declared Anakin finally. Yoda remained completely motionless for several seconds, processing the information that finally explained all the disturbances he had felt lately. The puzzle pieces that tormented him finally fit perfectly into a terrifying and absolutely clear pattern. "Right? You are young Skywalker," said Yoda, rising with renewed determination and leaning on his gnarled staff. "Arrest the Chancellor, we must immediately," declared the Jedi Master with absolute authority that admitted no questioning or hesitation. Anakin felt a mixture of relief and apprehension, grateful for having made the right choice but terrified of what was to come. "Accompany me, you will," ordered Yoda, placing his small hand on Anakin's arm in a comforting gesture that brought some peace. Together, Master and Knight left the temple, walking determinedly toward the senatorial building where Palpatine awaited. The sun had already set completely over Coruscant when they arrived at the Supreme Chancellor's office. Palpatine waited for them calmly, as if he knew this moment would be inevitable since Anakin had left his presence. The final confrontation between light and darkness was about to begin, and the galaxy's destiny would be decided in the next minutes. The Chancellor's office was shrouded in shadows when Yoda and Anakin entered without any ceremony. Palpatine remained seated behind his imposing desk, a calm smile on his face that contrasted with the tension in the air. "Master Yoda, what an unexpected visit," said the Chancellor with false cordiality that fooled no one present in the room. Anakin remained near the entrance, his lightsaber already in hand, prepared for any eventuality that might arise. Yoda advanced slowly, his penetrating eyes fixed on the man who had manipulated the galaxy for so long secretly. "So Darth Sidious, you are," declared Yoda with a firm voice that echoed through the luxurious walls. Palpatine completely abandoned his facade, rising and finally revealing the Sith who hid behind the political mask. "So young Skywalker chose the side of the ignorant Jedi," commented Sidious, his yellowed eyes fixed accusingly on Anakin. The young Jedi trembled under the gaze, but maintained his position firm beside Yoda without wavering. Yoda raised his small hand, signaling that words had ended and the moment of definitive action had arrived. Palpatine drew his red lightsaber with impressive speed, the crimson blade sinisterly illuminating his distorted face. The battle began with devastating intensity when Sidious attacked Yoda with impressive superhuman speed. The small Jedi Master blocked each blow with impossible precision, his mastery with the saber evident in each movement. Anakin observed the duel, looking for an opening to assist without hindering the combat between the two powerful masters. "Anakin, there is still time to make the right choice," shouted Sidious during combat, trying to manipulate the young man. Yoda pressed the Sith Lord constantly, forcing him to retreat toward the large panoramic windows of the office. "Only lies, he utters always," affirmed Yoda without diverting his attention from the dangerous opponent before him. Sidious perceived he was rapidly losing ground and decided to change tactics in a desperate and calculated manner. Instead of continuing the saber duel, Sidious deactivated his blade and directed his hands toward Anakin. "Help me, Anakin!" shouted the Sith Lord while Force lightning escaped from his twisted fingers. Yoda defended and the electrical energy ricocheted through the walls, burning expensive tapestries and leaving carbonized marks throughout the room. Sidious growled in frustration upon perceiving that his attempt to win Anakin had completely failed at that moment. The Sith Lord turned his attention exclusively to Yoda, attacking with renewed fury and growing desperation. The sabers collided repeatedly, generating sparks that illuminated the room in intermittent flashes of blinding light. Yoda leaped and spun, using the Force to compensate for his obvious physical limitations against the larger opponent. Anakin remained alert, observing each movement and awaiting the right moment to intervene if necessary. Sidious tried again to use the lightning, but this time Yoda was completely prepared for the known tactic. The small master raised his tiny hands, capturing the pure energy and deflecting it back towards Sidious. The Sith Lord screamed in pain when his own energy struck him violently, burning his flesh horribly. Palpatine fell to his knees, defeated and weakened, his arrogance finally replaced by pure desperation and genuine terror. Yoda approached slowly, his saber still active pointed at the fallen Sith who breathed with extreme difficulty. "Spare you I will, but to justice you will answer," declared Yoda with absolute authority that permitted no contestation. Sidious raised his yellowed eyes, pure hatred emanating from every fiber of his being corrupted by the dark side. "Unlimited power you could have," whispered the Sith Lord in a last desperate attempt at useless persuasion. In response, Sidious tried again to launch lightning with his last remaining forces, targeting both Yoda and Anakin. The old Jedi Master defended himself again with open hands, capturing the energy and partially returning it to the attacker. Palpatine convulsed under his own corrupting energy, but survived the attack that he himself had imprudently initiated. Anakin activated his communicator, immediately requesting temple guards to assist in the arrest of the most dangerous criminal. Sidious was completely defeated but still alive, destined to face trial for his countless crimes against the galaxy. The majestic Jedi Temple quickly filled with the explosive news of Palpatine's capture as Sith Lord. Ki-Adi-Mundi, who was on a mission in the outer colonies, received urgent communication to return immediately to Coruscant. Anakin remained beside Yoda during the entire process of transferring the prisoner to a special maximum security cell. Palpatine was taken to the temple's basement, handcuffed with special devices that partially suppressed his connection with the Force. The news spread throughout Coruscant like uncontrollable fire, shocking citizens and senators who would never suspect the elected leader. Yoda convened emergency council meeting via hologram, including Windu on Kashyyyk and Obi-Wan on Utapau in the deliberations. The revelation that the Supreme Chancellor was Darth Sidious shook the foundations of the Republic to its deepest core. "Ended. The war may finally be," communicated Yoda to the virtually assembled masters, cautious hope in his ancient voice. Windu, on Kashyyyk, had temporarily paused military operations upon receiving the devastating news about Palpatine. "We need to act quickly to ensure the Separatists do not capitalize on the political chaos," advised the Jedi Master. Obi-Wan, who had located Grievous on Utapau, awaited orders on how to proceed with his original elimination mission. Ki-Adi-Mundi expressed legitimate concern about how the Senate would react to the arrest of its democratically elected leader. The situation was extremely delicate, and any wrong step could easily trigger a devastating civil war beyond the already existing one. Anakin testified about his conversation with Palpatine, revealing details about attempts at seduction to the dark side through promises. The trial was scheduled for 3 days after the capture, enough time to gather evidence and prepare formal accusations. Senators from all systems attended the historic session, the senatorial chamber completely packed with representatives anxious to witness. Bail Organa courageously led the prosecution, presenting evidence collected by the Jedi about Sidious's sinister activities. Mon Mothma vehemently supported the accusations, her passionate speech echoing through the corridors of the corrupted Republic's power. Some senators loyal to Palpatine tried to defend him, arguing that the accusations were an orchestrated Jedi coup against democracy. The dispute became heated, with fierce debates that lasted countless hours and tested the limits of order. Palpatine observed everything from his special cage, a sinister smile never completely abandoning his permanently deformed lips. During the trial, Palpatine tried to use the Force to influence weak senators susceptible to subtle manipulation. Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi, present in the senatorial chamber, contained these attempts, creating an invisible protective barrier that neutralized. Anakin gave detailed testimony about the confessions Palpatine had made, revealing knowledge about Darth Plagueis and forbidden techniques. The young Jedi described the empty promises about saving Padme, definitively exposing the manipulative nature of the fallen Chancellor. Obi-Wan returned from Utapau after eliminating Grievous as originally planned, also giving testimony about inconsistencies noticed over the years. The accumulated evidence was overwhelming, leaving very little margin for doubt about Palpatine's obvious guilt in treason. Even his most fervent supporters began to question their loyalty to the man who had so completely betrayed the Republic. After intense deliberation, the Senate pronounced verdict by overwhelming majority of votes expressed in the historic session. Palpatine was declared guilty of treason, conspiracy, murder, and countless other grave crimes against the Republic and citizens. The sentence was life imprisonment in total isolation, without possibility of parole or any future clemency. The ex-chancellor was taken back to his cell in the temple, where he would be constantly watched by rotating shifts. Yoda felt significant disturbance in the Force when Palpatine was removed from the senatorial chamber under heavy escort. The Jedi Master ordered redoubled vigilance, but even his vast wisdom did not completely foresee the final plan. 2 days after the trial, in the quiet of Coruscant's night, Palpatine initiated his desperate and destructive move. A clone guard, unconsciously influenced by Sith suggestions planted weeks before, accidentally dropped a communicator near the cell. With immense effort through the available residual force, Palpatine attracted the device to himself through the energy bars. His fingers trembled as he typed the code memorized years ago, the key to his devastating final weapon. "Execute Order 66 immediately," whispered Palpatine into the communicator, his voice laden with malice and desperation simultaneously. The message transmitted instantly to all clones scattered throughout the galaxy in a matter of fateful seconds. The biological chips activated, replacing loyalty with murderous programming against the Jedi everywhere they served. On Kashyyyk, Windu felt the clones turn their weapons against him, but the loyal Wookiees quickly intervened, saving him. On Utapau, Obi-Wan was targeted by his own battalion but managed to miraculously escape, diving into the deep waters. The first reports of attacks arrived at the temple within minutes after activation of the treacherous and devastating order. Yoda felt the deaths through the Force, a wave of pain that made him stagger momentarily under the weight. To the temple, all must return immediately, he ordered through emergency communicators to all surviving Jedi. Ki-Adi-Mundi managed to defend himself from his battalion and escape, returning gravely wounded but alive to the capital. Plo Koon had no luck in his starfighter, being shot down by his own pilots before he could react. Anakin led the temple's defense, positioning knights and Padawans at strategic points around the sacred complex. The clones of the 501st marched against the temple with programmed orders to eliminate all Jedi found. The battle for the temple was fierce and devastating, with Anakin and other masters defending the entrances against waves of soldiers. In the Senate, Bail Organa proposed sending senatorial forces to assist the Jedi against the rebel clones immediately. The motion was unanimously approved, senators horrified by Palpatine's final betrayal even while imprisoned in the temple. Forces loyal only to the Senate were quickly mobilized, marching to assist the Jedi defenders against the coordinated attack. When the senatorial forces arrived, the tide of battle shifted in favor of the Jedi, who bravely resisted. The clones, facing opposition from two fronts, slowly retreated toward the hangars and eventually withdrew completely. The battle had been won, but at a terrible cost in lost Jedi lives and physical destruction. Master Windu returned from Kashyyyk with fury burning in his heart, determined to confront the responsible party personally. Palpatine must answer definitively for this, he declared to the council assembled in the smoking ruins of the damaged temple. Yoda understood the anger but warned about dangers of acting with hatred in one's heart, even justified by the circumstances. Dangerous he is, but to trial he still belongs, he argued with wisdom from centuries lived and wars witnessed. Windu listened respectfully, but his expression remained hard as he looked at funeral pyres being prepared for fallen Jedi. While the temple was being rebuilt, Windu made a unilateral decision in the darkness of the night following the funerals. The Jedi Master infiltrated the prison where Palpatine was kept, passing by the guards who immediately recognized him. When he entered the cell, Palpatine raised his eyes with a sinister smile, waiting for this inevitable moment. "Have you come to execute me, Master Windu?" provoked the Sith Lord with sarcasm. Even defeated and imprisoned, Windu activated his unique purple saber, unwavering determination reflected in the characteristic blade that clearly identified him. Palpatine tried to defend himself with lightning, but Windu deflected the energy and advanced implacably without any hesitation. The confrontation was brief but intense, with the weakened Palpatine unable to overcome the furious and determined Jedi Master. Windu struck with final precision, ending the life of the Sith Lord who had threatened to completely destroy everything. When Anakin arrived, alerted by a disturbance in the Force, he found Windu over Palpatine's already lifeless body. "Why did you do this?" asked Anakin, echoing words heard about Dooku's execution so long ago. Windu turned, his face showing relief and the weight of the action taken upon himself without authorization. "He was too dangerous to be left alive, Skywalker," he responded with absolute conviction in the decision made. In the following months, the galaxy slowly healed from the deep wounds left by the meticulously orchestrated war and betrayal. Padme gave birth to healthy twins, Luke and Leia, with Anakin present by her side during the entire assisted birth. The Senate elected Bail Organa as new Chancellor, committed to reforms that would prevent another tyrannical rise in the Republic. The Grand Clone Army was gradually deactivated, soldiers reprogrammed to remove the secretly implanted treacherous control chips. Yoda remained at the temple meditating, reflecting on lessons learned and preparing the next generation of Jedi for a better future. Peace finally returned to the galaxy, bought with sacrifice but preserved by those who chose light over darkness.